There is nothing worse than untapped potentials. If you know that you're made for more, this is the place. I know that every successful person I've ever met has one thing in common. They do not let themselves fall victim to their circumstances. They figure out a way to rise above it. So join me on this journey where I help you to be better, do better, and have better in life and in business. If you're feeling stuck and you're needing some practical tools, some hope to get you to that better life, this is definitely the place for you. Hey everybody, welcome to the Unstuck Podcast, and I get a chance to introduce a brand new connection of mine, Paul Salter, and you are coming to me from the West Coast, if I remember right.
So I've just relocated. I'm now in Tampa, Florida.
Oh my gosh, Tampa, Florida. That's right. So Tampa, Florida. I love Florida, by the way. I just got back a couple of days ago. It's my happy place. So good for you for living there. And you guys, Paul is a registered dietitian, and he really specializes in high achieving women customers, which I think is really fascinating because I can definitely fall into that high achieving, nerdy, can't get enough go-getting kind of person. And I think that a lot of people that are listening to this can relate to that because we understand the importance of being better, doing better, and having better. And I think what an amazing platform to be able to tap into some, incredible resources, some experts that are out in the world serving people. And you were absolutely one of those people that I wanted to introduce to this community. So Paul, I'm going to give it over to you. Introduce yourself. Give us a better idea than what I just gave everybody about who you are, what you do, what are you most proud of these days?
Yeah, thank you so much for the intro, Lachelle. It's great to be here. And, my journey can be summarized up as this. Picture at the age of 16, a multi-sport athlete who stood a whopping about 5'1" and 110 pounds soaking wet to really struggling to find his place competing amongst his peers and using that resourcefulness, that grit, and that relentless pursuit of being his best to now fast forwarding many, many years later and really focusing on helping others, specifically high achieving women, feel, look, and be their best. And my background that got me here has a lot of a nutrition focus. I'm a registered dietitian. I did a lot in the sports nutrition world, working with collegiate, professional, and Olympic athletes. But I noticed in my own journey and experiences that nobody prepares you for life after dieting and the emotional, mental, physiological toll that dieting takes on us, and you don't have the resources to support the accountability, inevitably you fall back into your old habits, which is why we see the obesity and overweight numbers that are off the charts, and why I firmly believe that we don't actually have a weight loss problem, we have a weight maintenance problem. So today, I am fortunate enough to combine my passion with nutrition, my own passion with personal growth to not only selfishly serve myself, but serve so many other people in helping them to feel, look, and be their best.
I love that. Personal development is something that I really began to embrace and fall in love with several years ago. And I realized that it's allowing me to be a better person, but to be a better leader, to be a better business owner, all the things. So I'm benefiting everybody else at the same time that I'm growing myself. And I think that's amazing. And one of the things that you said really stood out to me, Paul, is that you are kind of the underdog from when you were a kid. And I love that because I have a 12-year-old little guy right now who is a bottomless pit when it comes to eating, but he is thin and just he has our genetics. He's just not going to be a big guy, and the kids call him Noodle at school. And it's just because you're little, bud, it does not mean that you don't have the heart of a lion, right? And that doesn't mean that this is where you have to be stuck. And so I'm really trying to teach him during this time that resiliency, that grit, because man, those two things right there are going to be what is going to make him successful someday. So I love the fact that I'm talking to you right now as a real example of what that looks like. And I love also the fact that you worked with all of these collegiate athletes. And one of the things that I have found in my experience with athletes, especially those that go to college and professional sports, is they have this unwavering ability to have grit and perseverance. And I'm sure that you have that, and then you've been watching other people with those characteristics. And so I would love to talked about that a little bit, because I would assume, right, that if anybody wants to have the maintenance phase of their ideal weight, their ideal figure, their ideal appearance, they have to have some grit and some resilience and persistence and all the things. And so it's such a universally beneficial skill to have that I want to pick your brain a little bit. Tell me, where did that come from for you? And how did you foster that in yourself? And how do you foster that in others?
Absolutely. So aside from, like I said, being challenged with a late growth spurt, though I can proudly claim 6 feet today, it just took a little while to get there. I really started to recognize too that there were many key moments in my life that turned out to be defining moments and shaping the trajectory of not only my career, but who I am as a person today. And so aside from, the late growth spurt, when I got into the sports nutrition realm, believe it or not, at the time, across all of the collegiate programs in the entire nation, so we're talking thousands, there were only 7 full-time sports dietitians in the whole nation. So I'm getting in at this time where, no one really valued or respected it. It was something that the strength coaches would take under their wing. It's just kind of another tattoo, like, oh, here, have some protein. Which, they didn't maybe know better. The research wasn't as easy to get in front of as many people like it is today with social media and the internet. Yeah. And getting in at that time, it really challenged me. Like I had to be I had to really prioritize networking with the right people, putting myself out there, volunteering. There was a volunteer opportunity. I would drive, about 2.5, 3 hours round trip just to volunteer a couple hours a week because this woman was a sports dietitian. She was one of the select few. And it was moments like this where what I think really enabled me to be successful was I was very clear on where I wanted to be and my why behind it. And I think, and I know you know this so well, Lachelle, is that's universally acceptable and essential rather in every aspect of life. But when it comes to someone who wants to lose weight and keep it off, if we don't have the clarity behind the why, we're just going to fall back into our old habits.
100%. The people that I lead in my sales organization, that is literally the foundation behind everything. And I tell people that if you're going to do anything in life, number one, you have to have the desire for better. And you have to know exactly what better looks like, right? Before you can make the decision to actually do something about it, you have to decide, you have to make the choice, and then you actually have to do the things that you said that you're going to do. But it starts with that desire, that picture of what it is that you want, why you want it, and going back those 7 layers of why, till you get there, right?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
It's so funny you say that because I love that 7 why exercise. Like that's something I use with my clients all the time and myself.
Yeah. It's so funny. I used to roll my eyes at it. I'm like, oh, for real, 7, like, come on, like I can get this in like 2. And then I was literally mentoring my intern that I have, and I was trying to demonstrate this. And then, I mean, no lie, I literally was doing it just to teach her a lesson. And I started to tear up when I got to number 7. I'm like, dang it, this works. And so we can't underestimate it. But I love that. And I think that's, you have to figure out what better looks like for yourself. Do you find that belief in yourself and that you personally are capable of achieving that is an important factor in this as well?
Oh, 1000%. Absolutely. And I'd even go above and beyond. I like to default to the word faith. For me, I just read this in a book the other day. The book was The 4 Agreements, and he really does a great job.
Yes, I love that book.
Faith. Yeah, and he defines faith as just this unconditional belief. And I thought that was so powerful. And I really believe that, regardless of circumstances, setbacks, that's part of the journey. But I am so clear on my vision. Like, I don't care what it's going to take or how long it's going to take. And I've adopted this mindset that I try to share with anybody I come into contact with is whatever your goal is, it's likely going to take longer and be a heck of a lot harder. But if you keep focused, you're going to get there.
Yes. So tell me, because there are, possibly people listening to this that they're like, I have this desire and I want better. And I know why I want it, but I just don't think that it's in the cards for me. Or I watch other people. Comparison is a brutal thing, especially with social media, right? They see people getting there faster without realizing the work that they're putting in behind the scenes. And you start to get down on yourself and the belief bubble starts to deflate. What things could you give people who are listening to help them strengthen the belief in themselves that they're capable of doing things that are hard?
Fantastic question. So 2 points to share. First and foremost is if you're, adopting the belief that I can't do this or I'm not meant for or capable of this,
Mhm.
maybe you're not ready to say I am, gung ho able to do this, but ask yourself, is that current belief serving you? Logically, you're going to say no. Telling myself I'm a
Right.
failure or I'm stupid is not serving you.
Yes.
And if we can't make the jump to switching to a full on positive substitution of a belief,
Mhm.
maybe we can at least laugh at how silly our current was and see how
Mhm.
it's not serving us. And then at least make one, nth degree shift in the positive direction and begin there.
Mhm. Yeah, I love that. What was the second one? Because I think that you mentioned that there was a second one.
Yeah, so the second one is start to understand and make it a priority to understand what is the origin of this belief. We're
Mm.
very malleable from a young age, and about 90 to
Yes.
95% of our beliefs are instilled between the ages of roughly 0 to 6. So likely you,
Yes.
you had no say in your belief system. So start to
Yeah.
understand and work backwards as to why are you thinking that way? What were your parents or guardians like? What was your environment like? And Lachelle, I can tell you firsthand, for me, a game-changing experience was when I was first introduced to hypnotherapy and
Mm.
working with a hypnotherapist to do what they call deep inner child work and learning,
Yeah.
some of the origins of where these beliefs came from and kind of going back in a very relaxed state, tapping into my unconscious and seeing how was I,
Yeah.
conditioned to think, act, and be at that age, and how has that shaped the trajectory of my life now? And it's been incredibly powerful in
Yes.
enabling me to rewrite my story.
Yeah, to be able to look at that memory of that belief and to be able to look at it objectively from the adult mindset and say, okay, is this
Yes.
rational? Is this serving me? All those things. Oh my gosh, Paul, we could nerd out all day long because I think that we listen to the same things, we read the same things. And so I also have read and learned that, yeah, up until 6 or 7 years old is when our subconscious belief systems, our paradigms, our limiting beliefs and how we view the world are developed. And I think you guys, going back to the why concept that Paul brought up, even if you do not think that you are capable of what it is that you want to do, or you're trying to find your why, listen to this. Listen to this very carefully. If you are a parent, even if you have to make this for them to get yourself started, make it for them. Let them see you achieving your goals. Let yourself model for them so that those little eyes that are 4 years old are watching their mama or watching their dad doing things that are scary, that have a risk, letting them see you fall and get back up. All of those things, when they're little, are going to help them form those thoughts, those beliefs, those
Yeah.
paradigms in their little brains. And you've given them the bigger gift than you could have ever even consciously imagined. And so if you're struggling with that why, let those little eyes that may be watching you be somewhat of a motivation to get going on whatever that better looks like for you.
Yeah, I love that.
Okay, so I want to make sure that we dive just right into all of the tips, the tricks that you have. And I want to learn a little bit more about how the heck you came to decide to work with the specific niche that you do, because that's really fascinating to me. So you guys, after this brief moment where I'm going to talk to you about this exciting course that I've created that I'm so stinking excited about to help you get balance, help you achieve, help you level up, all the cool things, in just a second. So let me have you watch that real quickly, and then we're going to get back to this conversation. Hey, lachellewieme here, and I gotta ask you, are you feeling like you're always on your freaking phone and you're trying to run your business, your family's complaining about you always being on your phone, you feel like you're winging it constantly, and all you want to do is have a strategy that lets you be 100% authentic and you are literally attracting the right people to you? Oh my goodness, that was me too. And I had to figure out a system that would make that work. I totally nailed it. I have a program all designed to help you do that too, including a chance to spend the entire day with me so that I can help you write copy that attracts people, and you will literally be done for an entire year. If that sounds like it's something that you need, we totally need to talk. Go ahead and click this link and let's get started. Okay, Paul. So I can't wait to continue this conversation because there's so much that goes into our minds when we come into our bodies, right? So you're a registered dietitian, but you and I have been nerding out right here on all of the personal development mind stuff. And we can't, not acknowledge the fact that that stuff is integral right? In us becoming the best versions of ourselves inside and then outside, right?
Absolutely.
So I want to continue down that path. I want you to help us to uncover some of those other mind things that we have to be able to address, we can start working on in order to become the best versions of ourselves inside and outside. And then I want to talk a little bit about the high achieving women that you're changing lives for.
Yeah, let's do it. Do you want me to jump right in, or do you have somewhere you want
Jump
to start?
right in. Nope, jump right in and just give me your best tips on how to get your mind in the right place so that you can change your life and your body.
Absolutely. So the first thing is, I'm sure, yourself as well as your listeners have seen some variation of what I'm about to share in a book, in a blog, on a podcast or something. But it all starts with, our word choice, how we talk to ourselves, and that ultimately being, the catalyst that influences our thought patterns, which is related to our belief systems. And we go down this, the snowballing effect where our thoughts influence our actions. An action done repeatedly or consistently is a habit that influences your results. Your results eventually shape your identity. So if we keep this, wonderfully long flow chart I just shared in mind, that should give us a clue that if we want to change our identity or our results or our habits, everything begins in the mind. And one of the easiest ways we can begin making change is placing focus there, but we can't make change until awareness is present. And that is like the essential first step. And for many of us, there's the stages of change model that states there's a long, indefinite period of time called the pre-contemplation stage where we don't even know a problem exists. But chances are, based on who your listeners are, they know there's some area of their life they'd like to fix. And what I would say is we need to lean into that awareness and examine what narratives are we telling ourselves, what word choices are we using? Because if we're talking negatively, we're going to think negatively. We're going to behave negatively. We're going to see that play out in, self-sabotaging behaviors, whether at the conscious or unconscious level. And so it goes down that beautiful flow chart. So the action step I have for everybody listening is, now that you've heard this, start to be more mindful of the words you use to describe yourself in a stressful situation, when something goes wrong. And I even go as far as a lot of people I work with is, keep a notepad in your app, on an app in your phone open, or a piece of paper handy. Just start writing these down. In time, you're going to start to pick up on a theme or a pattern. And if you use the words like I can't, or I should, or I would, or I'm stupid, I'm silly, I'm fat, I'm dumb, clearly that's not serving you. So with that awareness, you have now created an opportunity to put in a more positive substitution. You'd be surprised to find how something as simple as I can versus I can't is going to have a positive ripple effect on what you think about yourself, what you actually are willing to try, how likely you are to get outside your comfort zone.
I love that. And one thing that you made me think of is when I did my John Maxwell coaching training, they taught me about this concept. And one thing that stood out to me in that was that our thoughts create our emotions. Our emotions create our actions create our, all the things that you just said, same flowchart, but the emotion part in there. And I think that this is the thing, you guys, is that if your negative thoughts are creating negative emotions, your negative emotions are emotions we let drive way too much, right? And so our emotions are what's going to form our action. So if I'm saying to myself, like, why bother eating better because I'm just not going to fit into those jeans anyway. And then I'm feeling bad about myself. And so my emotion is bad self, negativity. Therefore, my action then is going to follow suit, right? And so getting a handle on your thoughts will help you get a handle on your emotion. Same thing is oftentimes we lack motivation. I think even us, high achieving people, I don't know, Paul, maybe I'm just not, maybe you don't, but I lack motivation sometimes. And if we wait until our emotions are in the place for us to get into action, we're probably not going to get there, right? So if we can start by that good thought that helps to drive that emotion into action is going to be so powerful. So thank you for bringing that up. It's so powerful. And having that awareness of what kind of thoughts are going through your mind is 1,000% the start of this, right?
Absolutely. And I'll also echo, like, motivation comes and goes for me. That's just called being a human being. I like to think of it as like a bolt of lightning that just flashes in and out whenever it wants to.
Yeah. Well, and I think for me, what I've found is that you really can't rely on motivation to be successful in anything. That includes personal
Correct.
development, that includes our businesses, that includes our bodies. It really comes
Hmm.
down to the D word, which is discipline. And you have to have discipline in order to be able to do the things that you don't want to do. And what I love about what you said a couple minutes ago is that your repeated actions create habits. Habits can be really good. And that's what discipline is. Discipline is creating really solid, strong, healthy habits that you don't even have to think about. You just do. So it doesn't matter if you feel like it or not, because it's just what you do. So, there is a control in this, right? Like, we have control, we have
Yeah.
choices.
Absolutely. And I don't think discipline has to be nearly as daunting, if you will, when you think about it from the perspective that when it
Yeah.
comes to those habits being, exemplifying discipline, well, let's find the habits that we can automate. So we're almost operating on autopilot. So we're actually preserving the precious willpower or motivation. And if we approach
Yes.
it through that frame of mind, now all of a sudden discipline is good. It works for us because now it's
Mhm.
easy because we've conditioned ourselves just to, act without emotion, which is a good thing in some instances to get X,
Yeah.
Y, and Z done that we know is in line with how we want to feel, look, be, achieve, etc.
So one of the things that I've noticed, I'm kind of a nerd, and in my previous life as a professor, I did a lot of research and a lot of qualitative research, and I look for patterns in behavior. And one of the things that I noticed as an entrepreneur is that people are held back in their businesses specifically by three things. One of them is the lack of confidence. One of them is fear. And then the other is lack of motivation. Do you find that those things are very similar in the work that you do as far as what holds people back in becoming the best versions of themselves, both mentally and physically?
Absolutely. And I want to speak a bit more on the fear aspect because I think this
Yes.
is such a misunderstood aspect. A lot of the fear that I see in having conversation with those I work with or just the wonderful people of Instagram is that there are many reasons we feel fear, and it's not always the reason we think. And some of the most common ones, I've not only experienced myself, but in conversation I've learned about is fear of success. There's fear of failure, but then there's the
Yes.
fear of maybe needing to be a role model, the pressure that comes with
Mhm.
success. So we almost inevitably talk ourselves out of success before we even have a chance to experience it
Yeah.
because of the burden or the pressure that we are now, rather that now is put on our plate as a result of achieving that goal.
Yeah, that's amazing. So what tips do you have to help somebody get past that? I can completely relate to that whole fear of success thing and fearing that I'm going to lose friends if I get to a certain place in my life, or fear that, all kinds of things. So tell me, how do you help people overcome that?
That's a fantastic question. So a couple things, but the first one we can quickly connect to our previous conversation is through
Yeah.
discipline, through automating habits. That is one way to
Mhm.
get us there. But
Okay.
the other part is kind of a hard truth to swallow. And if we assume in our example here that the goal you have set for yourself is in line with your highest self, you're as authentic to yourself as possible. Unfortunately, as you achieve that, some aspects of your environment, your friendships, your relationships might not be continuing to serve and support that goal. So you
Mhm.
do, unfortunately, get kind of caught in this tug of war of what you want, what is true to yourself versus what you
Mhm.
currently have. And because
Yeah.
we're such byproducts of our environment and who we spend our time with, hard decisions need to be made. And one of the best learning lessons I've had from a mentor on, as I've gone through this own experience in my life is it's not necessarily you have to cut out relationships or aspects of your life, but you do need
Okay.
to edit. You need to edit them. And
Okay.
that means the example I might give is if you're spending time with a friend or your in-laws or a coworker who is constantly just creating a toxic environment, but
Mhm.
maybe they're a childhood friend, for example, or they're in your life and
Yeah.
that's not going to change. Maybe
Yeah.
you take back control of when you connect with them, where you connect with them, and how you connect with them, and then significantly limit the amount of time that interaction takes place.
I love that. And I'm going through something kind of similar to that right now, actually. And so I had a friend of mine, wiser friend, remind me that the definition of boundaries is how can I make this work so that you and I are both happy? And
I love
I
that.
really liked that because, and that doesn't have to be something that's verbally thought of, but it's like, how can I make sure that this relationship can work for both of us? And I thought that was really helpful for me. And I just love the fact that you brought that up. Is there anything else that you could tribute to this conversation around confidence, because I'm wondering if you have people whose self-confidence is so lacking that they don't make the decision in the first place to better themselves or work with somebody like you. Does that happen in your industry?
Absolutely. So, I'm shouting at my mentor here big time because he's taught me so much. But one of the
Yeah.
most valuable lessons he taught me is what's called the confidence, consistency, competence loop. And confidence
Mm.
all boils down to, I like to also use the word self-integrity. You say you'll do something, and even if you're the
Yes.
only one who hears it, you still do it.
Yes.
But what happens is if we start to try and develop a new skill that we want to transform into a habit, we need to
Mhm.
start doing it consistently. And if that
Right.
consistency is going to breed confidence, and that confidence is going to breed, acceleration of the skill or competency. So now we've got
Mhm.
consistency, confidence, competency, all beginning with just taking one tiny step forward and trying
Yes.
one little thing.
I love that. And I say that oftentimes that those that have low self-esteem or low self image, I guess, is because oftentimes we break promises to ourselves. And if we don't trust ourselves, then we don't trust that
Yeah.
anybody else will trust us either. And so I think that that's really powerful that you say that. And I love the fact that you basically acknowledge that the best way to be confident is to make a small step, to take action. Imperfect action is better than no action at all, and take those tiny steps day in and day out until all of a sudden you're like, wait, I got this. Now give me something else. And your confidence is going
Yeah.
to build, and you've proven to yourself that, hey, I'm not going to let myself down. And I love that so much. My gosh, Paul, I could literally talk to you all day. This has been such an easy
Yes, it's
conversation to have. And I want to make sure that I don't accidentally miss, any big, huge points that I haven't had a chance to bring up. So is there anything else that you are just dying to share with our audience in regards to anything that we've talked about so far?
Yeah, I appreciate you asking. I'd say the last thing is just to piggyback off what we just discussed, kind of connecting the dots between simplicity and emotion and action. And, I think we're all well aware that there are a lot of things in life that are simple. Losing weight, for example, is simple. You eat fewer calories than you burn. However, we all also know losing weight is not easy. And when it comes to differentiating simple and easy, there's a lot in between those two words that are often, misused interchangeably. But what I've found is in order to keep something simple and to actually elevate it to easy, what
Mhm.
happens that prevents that from happening is we allow a split second for emotion to creep in. And
Mhm.
ultimately, emotion invites our ego, and our ego is designed to just
Yes.
protect us, meaning keep us
Yes.
in our comfort zone. So when it comes to trying to, get unstuck in any aspect of your life or make one positive change, you just need to take action. Don't think, don't invite emotion or your ego into the equation. Just take the action, and you're going to find that in itself is a skill that requires practice. But as you gain consistency there, so comes the confidence, the competency, and over we go.
Oh my goodness. I love that. And you're absolutely right. Our ego is not a bad thing in the sense, you guys, it's literally just trying to protect us and keep us safe. But we will never evolve as people. We will never grow if we are only listening to that voice, right? And so you kind of have to just elbow him out of the way
Yes.
and get into action. And I love that. And okay, so I want to finish our conversation by talking about, you know, your service to high achieving women. How did you come to that particular group of individuals that you're passionate about helping?
Absolutely. So I can tell you I've had a long journey of who I've helped over the years. And I think a lot of it was just a blessing of me learning from mistakes, but also just starting to, like you mentioned earlier, notice themes or patterns. And I don't think it's a secret that, the vast majority of the weight loss and fitness industry customers are women for whatever reason. And we could have a whole nother podcast on how society has
Yeah.
conditioned us to think all these bad thoughts and put women in such an unfair advantage. But that's just the nature of the industry I'm in. But what I've really began to niche down and observe based on, I've worked one-on-one with almost 1,500 people the past 10 years, is that the high achievers, they want more out of themselves. They demand
Yep.
more. And I think one of the biggest separators for them is they're not afraid to speak up and say, hey, I need help or I don't know. And it's that vulnerability and humility that separates them from everybody else and why they're so much of a high achiever and have success everywhere else. And because they ask for help or say they don't know, they connect with like-minded individuals, myself, etc., and they actually then take action on what they learn. So, as a coach and someone who really is passionate about transforming lives, it's a win-win
Yeah.
situation. I want nothing more than someone to interact with myself, my coaches, my community,
Yeah.
and succeed. And it makes me light up seeing that they're taking what they learn and applying it to
Yes.
their own lives and getting those results.
And you guys, those of you who are listening and you are in the starting stages of your business and you're like, I don't know who I want to serve yet. I don't know who my niche is, niche, however you say it, wherever you're from. But
Yes.
I think that what Paul is showing you, what he's modeling you is that he's identified the people that are his favorite customers or clients to work with, the ones that fill him up the most, the ones that he loves to coach and help. And so those are the people that he's looking for. So we don't have to have a scarcity mindset and to think that anybody with a pulse who comes towards us is the best person to serve. It's okay. I'm going to give you permission right now to think about who that person is. What does he look like? What does she look like? What joy can they bring you? And give yourself the permission to just say, I want to work with this particular kind of person, and then do what you need to attract that kind of person. And I think, Paul, you're doing a beautiful job with that. And I think that one of the things that I wanted to say real quickly before we wrap this up is that you mentioned that high achieving women that you've worked with are okay to ask the questions and they're okay to be vulnerable. And I think that comes with confidence, you guys. So people that are not confident are afraid to ask questions. They're afraid to say, I don't know. They're afraid to ask for help because they don't want to be judged. I have been that person for years and years and years. I went through through my doctorate degree without ever asking a question in class because I was so afraid of not knowing the answer or looking stupid. When I went on my own confidence journey, I started to recognize that vulnerability is going to serve myself, but it's going to serve everybody else that's around me. And so knowing that, Paul, not only do you help people feel and look their best, but you are an amazing asset to have in anyone's life who wants to become the best versions of themselves as a whole. So if you guys are listening to this and you're like, I want to be able to be vulnerable. I want to be confident. I want to own who I am inside and out. Gosh, you guys, you're literally listening to your answer right here. So Paul, thank you for that. Tell us a little bit about the program that you're offering, and I'll make sure that I have all of the things that they need to connect with you, your Instagram handle, all the things in the show notes so that you can connect with all the people who have literally been praying for what you have. Tell us a little bit about your program.
Yeah, thank you for the kind words, Lachelle. I appreciate that. And the community program experience is called the 5% community. And one of the common questions I get is, why is it called that? And that's simply because the research will show us, decade after decade, that 5% of people who go on a weight loss journey are actually able to sustain their results for the long term. So in our community and program, we actually empower you with the skills, the support, the resources, the education, and of course, the accountability to become a 5%er. And what that looks like is a beautiful blend of unmatchable community support, connecting with like-minded individuals, a continuous online transformational and therapeutic online course that gives you all of the knowledge and tactics, and then us working one-on-one with you or in a group setting to coach you through what you have learned, in addition to us continuing to pour our own knowledge. Every Wednesday, tonight actually, as we record this, is our weekly Wednesday 5% Fire Call, where I bring what I've been learning under the personal growth umbrella, and I share it with you, but then I always apply it through the lens of either sustainable weight loss or simply feeling, looking, and being the best version of yourself.
Oh my
It's
gosh.
an incredible community.
I love that. There's a reason that you and I connected, because that's the whole point that I created the Better Club, is I wanted like-minded people who want to be better, do better, and have better, to have the community to support one another and to grow together, and let me be one of their guides. And I love the fact that you're guiding these people to the best versions of themselves. So Paul, thank you so much for everything that you're contributing. Thanks for the conversation. I look forward to continuing to follow your journey and be inspired by everything that you're doing. And I just, thanks for blessing everybody today. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. This was an incredible conversation, and I am really grateful for the opportunity.
Absolutely. All right. Bye, everybody. Thank thank you so much for listening to the Unstuck Podcast. I am so grateful to be on this journey with you. And don't forget to check out the show notes if you want to get into my private club, the Better Club, to be able to learn better ways to be better, do better, and have better. So until next time, keep showing up. Let's get unstuck together. Have a great day.